Hey everybody, Liz here from Blue Ridge Biomechanics and The Ride Life. Today we're going to talk about hand numbness while riding your bike. So a lot of people complain about hand numbness, and hand numbness can be from several different things. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to briefly go over a couple of the reasons why, and over the next couple of weeks we're going to dig into them a little bit deeper, and then we're going to talk about some exercises for each separate area that you might have issues within. So why do you get hand numbness to begin with? What does numbness come from? Numbness usually comes from a nerve. So if you have numbness, tingling, or burning, then typically you have a nerve problem. It can be an irritation where it's just like slightly getting aggravated, or it can be an actual like pinching on the nerve is having some damage happen to it, or something is pressing on it. Both of those will give you the numbness, tingling, burning, just some to a greater degree than others. So obviously if something's pinching the nerve, you're going to have a bigger issue. If something is just slightly next to it, just irritating a little bit, then you're going to have a lesser issue. So you can have the pinching of the nerve. You can also have a chemical irritation of the nerve. So if your nerve has any inflammatory chemicals around it, it's going to make it aggravated and irritated. It's not that anything's actually pressing on it, it's just that those chemicals around it can aggravate it and cause that numbness and that burning or tingling feeling. First off, when we talk about hands and we talk about numbness, we think carpal tunnel, because there's a lot of people that have carpal tunnel. So carpal tunnel is basically you have a ligament that crosses over between this bone in your hand to this bone in your hand, and that's where your finger flexors, tendons, come through, and your nerve. And so if you irritate or inflame your finger flexor tendons, then they're going to get bigger in this small little space, and that's going to put pressure on that nerve. So that's one reason that you can have numbness in your hand. You can also have ulnar issues, and you feel this bone that sticks out from the edge of your hand. It's called your pisiform. Okay, your ulnar nerve runs just on the inside of it. Okay, and so that, if you press on it with your handlebars, then that can cause irritation there. It's more common in road cycling than it is in mountain biking, strictly because of the handlebars and how you are more aggressive on your road bike than versus on your mountain bike, and also the shape and form of them. Mountain bike handlebars and grips are a little bit less likely to put pressure directly onto that spot. But that can cause issues with your pinky and cause issues with your ring finger and some sensation and numbness through there as you ride. Sometimes you can have other issues up through your elbow, where your ulnar nerve comes through, or where your median nerve comes through, or you can have issues up into your shoulder. So far we've got that your hand is pressing directly onto the nerve, onto your handlebars, onto your grips. You have irritated your flexor tendons, and you give yourself carpal tunnel. You can have an irritation in your elbow, same thing of a pressing on that. Or you can have your muscles in your shoulder actually pressing and irritating the nerve as it passes through them or around them. So everybody's built just a little bit differently, and sometimes some of our nerves go actually through some of our muscles more so than others. It's not as typical, but it can still happen. It can still irritate things. If your shoulder mechanics aren't good and you tend to raise up your shoulder to your ear, then you can also irritate and have this muscle up here, your upper trap, cause a nerve kind of pressing on that. Now, going back even more, we go back to where your nerves begin, your neck. So anything that goes on in your arm is basically from your neck. It's called your cervical spine. And so whenever I look and somebody has a nerve issue in their arm, I always treat back to their neck first. Unless like I go through and it's definitely not their neck, it's something that's down here. And so making sure that your neck is not stiff and making sure that your neck is moving can help decrease irritation on that nerve. And it's not even that it has to be pressing on it. It can just be an irritation on it. So if your neck is stiff, it's going to excrete potentially some inflammatory chemicals or have some other things that are going on that affect that nerve. So a lot of those issues can affect if you have hand numbness. We're going to break into all of these just a little bit more in the next couple of videos this month. Hope you guys understand, and hope you understand how complicated hand numbness actually is. And this doesn't even talk about your bike fit. And that's another aspect that can help or hinder you when it comes to actually your hand numbness. And if you have the right grips, if you have the right bars, and if you have the right setup on your bike, can play a huge role into if you actually get hand numbness when you ride. Hope all this makes sense, and let me know if you have any questions. Cheers, everybody.